Do you like putting together jigsaws? I've got to admit, I don't. Never had that interest in that at all. My dad loves making jigsaws, and he will spend hours, even weeks, on really complex jigsaws. And he spends a lot of time sorting out the pieces, getting that big board and starting to arrange things. And the picture starts to take shape as he solves the puzzles. He sorts out where things fit. But the thing about a jigsaw is that it's lots and lots of pieces that gradually come together to make the picture. Pastoral care and pastoral counselling is often like that, putting together the jigsaw. We've already started to talk about the need to have good observation skills, good listening skills. And we've talked about that in the context of a kind of a formal pastoral conversation, if you like. But a lot of that should be happening outside of those formal pastoral counselling moments. What that means is two things. First of all, it means that you might have different people that are seeing and observing things about what is happening in somebody's life, and I'm picking up bits of the jigsaw. That's why we need body ministry. That's why we need to be part of a whole church where people are picking up on different things. And that's true for any one of us. That means that if you're one of those people who's not a leader, not a pastor in the church, but you are seeking to get alongside of us, the part of your responsibility, if you like, is that you'll be picking up on things. And there may be things that on their own just raise a concern or even confusion, even puzzlement, but put together in the whole jigsaw start to give us a bigger picture of what is going on. And sometimes what will happen is 2 or 3 people will see similar things, observe similar things, and that helps to confirm things, helps to put the picture together. Sometimes what happens is you get that one piece of the jigsaw that actually transforms the picture and gives us a very different impression of what is going on to what we started with. What this means is that pastoral care, pastoral counselling and discipleship is something that needs patience and a level of caution. As I've said before, we should be slow to speak, particularly to give our own opinions. We should be wanting to listen and watch, to look and see. And we should be particularly listening and seeking to see what God is saying, what God is doing. What are some of the things that we might be looking out for? Well, first of all, sometimes what you see is that lots of different things seem to be starting to happen within a church community. There seems to be some tension within a marriage here. That there seems to be somebody who is starting to grumble a bit, starting to get discontent over there. There's a little group that are meeting, and they seem to be getting a bit off centre in their beliefs and their doctrine. All these different things are happening. But actually you start to see that there's a common source, a common root as the picture builds up, a common theme. Even with things that look quite disparate. That common root cause, if you like, might be that there's a particular individual that's having a lot of negative influence. It might be that there's something that has happened in the community or in the life of the church that's unsettled, that has rocked the church. Or it might be But there is even something that you need to go and look at in terms of your own teaching, some things that you have done and said as a church, and it's destabilised things. You need to revisit that. There's things to learn. Other things that you might be picking up on. Let me give you some examples. First of all, you might observe changes in a person's environment. Think about that person who normally is really house proud, that keeps their home completely spotlessly tidy and cares about their own appearance as well and looks after themselves. And you start to notice that the home is getting less tidy, that they may be becoming a bit more dishevelled. That might be a clue that there's a strong clue that there's something going on there. And you might not know what it is yet, but there's a clue there to clock, to make a note of. The thing too about people's habits and behaviours, that you're seeing a change in the sort of the structure of the week, how they spend their time. They're no longer available at this particular time because they're busy, or they're more available at another time when they weren't before. To meet you, to see you. Are there indicators that they seem to be becoming a little bit more withdrawn, or even a little bit more secretive even? That they're moving to the fringes, that there seems to be just a nervousness about things coming out. Particularly someone who is not usually known for their privacy. At the other extent, you can see people move from being naturally private people to suddenly starting to disclose things left, right and centre. And we're not going to jump to conclusions about why, but it will start to pose the question, why? It's often noted that when there's trouble in a marriage and when there's a risk of unfaithfulness, that there start to be clues. And people often don't pick up on them afterwards. He was starting to show a bit more concern about his appearance. He got a new haircut, he changed his wardrobe. He suddenly started to dress up a bit more and got new perfume. I think we can also see how people are being influenced and how they're influencing others. Think about when people start to use the language, the mannerisms, the terminology, even the accents of others, and you start to get a feel of where they're spending time, who they might want to impress, and who they may even be subconsciously being affected and influenced by. So all these clues that start to build together to build up a picture. And you might be seeing only some of them, and they might not make any sense on their own. And you might think this can't be a big deal. I don't want to make too much of it. And there might be nothing to it. But that one thing in isolation might not seem to be ringing alarm bells, but might just niggle at us a little bit. And what I'd encourage you to do is to capture those observations. To make sure that we don't lose them. And be ready to see how that starts to build a pattern. Well, thanks for listening in today. See you soon.